Hey everyone, thanks for joining Robert and I for the off season's first Holtecast. And today, first we're going to start off with a review of the Spurs match, which it was bad, but now the season's over, so we're thankful for that. Talk about the sale of the club, re-signing of some players, and who Villa should be interested in the transfer market. So with that, let's talk briefly about Spurs. And I guess we could say the second half wasn't as bad as the first. Gave up all three of the goals in the first half. What did you make of it, Robert?
I was trying to talk myself into that line of thinking after the match that it didn't suck. We kept a clean sheet in the second half, and then I realized that Spurs weren't really trying in the second half.
Yeah, I don't know if Spurs were really trying that much in the first half either, I guess, but I don't know. Spurs have some really good, like Christian Eriksen's really good, and Adebayor always just kills Villa.
Oh yeah. I part of me says, what can you really take from that match? I mean, everyone wanted to see them come out and play attacking football, but there was almost literally nothing on the line, and it was a shitty season. The players have been beaten down by themselves, by the fans. What do you really expect them to
By some of
show?
the assistant coaches, I guess.
Literally beaten down by some of the assistants.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just glad that the season's over. And as you mentioned in that article about Ron Vlaar, he said if the season had gone on for a couple more games, we could have really been in trouble.
God, can you imagine that? I mean, I was trying to. Relegation scenarios are irritating enough. That I didn't have a full handle on it, but I was trying to figure out what would happen if everyone had two more matches. And at that point, as the season ended with two more matches, Norwich could have caught us.
I don't know. I think they were probably still sunk along with Cardiff.
No, yeah,
Maybe
Fulham and
Fulham.
Cardiff would have not been able to catch us, but Norwich could have points-wise caught us because they only finished
Oh yeah,
five behind
Norwich
us.
could have caught us. I was thinking that Fulham could have escaped relegation,
Yeah,
possibly.
Fulham absolutely could have. I mean, because
Because
West Brom
Magad's
were playing.
record, if you look at I think Mullenstein and whatever his name was before him, who was their manager that started the season? Was
Um, God, I don't even
they
freaking
had
know.
they had the same record, but Magat's was better because they all three of them got 3 wins, but Magat I think he had 2 draws and 6 losses. The other two were 3 wins, 1 draw, and 9 losses. But
Yeah,
there
Martin
there was
Joel.
a bit of improvement, but they were still pretty terrible.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, they were pretty bad, but West Brom were playing really terribly
yeah,
towards the end of the
West
season.
Brom would have been in a little more danger. I think if it had gone on a couple match days longer, Sunderland would have. I don't know. They probably would have hit 40.
Sunderland would have qualified for Europe if that crap had kept up.
Oh yeah, for another month.
God, I mean, that team was just unstoppable until that final day when they too had literally nothing to play for.
Oh, yeah, when you take 7 points out of 9 from United City and Chelsea,
I
they,
mean, it was an incredible stretch from them.
yeah. So I guess in the second half of the game, it was nice that we got to see Robinson.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It was nice to see him. I wish Grealish would have gotten a little more.
Yeah, Bowery got the start. I mean,
He
didn't
didn't
play as well as,
impress, but
but
he earned that start. I was okay with that.
yeah, yeah. And again, nothing really to lose. But now that the season's over and Randy Lerner finally announced that he was intending to sell the club, I thought that was kind of a strange way to go about it. He was kind of cryptic during the season, getting towards season's end, but then finally just clock hits 10 o'clock, or clock strikes 10, and statement instantly comes out like it was prepared.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a little bit strange. I really wasn't expecting that statement on Monday. Just from everything we were hearing. I'm kind of glad we got it on Monday, especially now that we know what it said.
Yeah, and with the statements before, it's I'm not going to address anything. I'll say it at the season's end, and blah blah blah. It said a lot without really saying anything. That was pretty clear, and I think the worst part about it was what we had been hoping for was that a buyer was lined up or potential bidders had been lined up, and then they said, yeah, there's no one who actually wants to buy this club.
Yeah, it's it's
But, but
I
then you
don't
get
even
the
know what to
Ellis
say.
statement that said that someone was there to buy the club.
Yeah, I mean, we thought that maybe Ellison was in there. We thought maybe what is it? Ray Davis of the Texas Rangers could have been there. Ellis came along and said, "Yeah, someone's going to buy it." And then 3 sentences later said, "Ah, maybe not. I don't know."
Yeah, okay, Deadly Doug. Like,
I mean, I it just sucks right now
I
because
think I think it's good that Paul Lambert and Paul Faulkner went to the U.S. to talk with Lambert or with Lerner. I'm sorry, and I mean maybe Lerner has is letting them know something that we don't know. I'd imagine.
literally, if he tells them anything, they will know something we don't know.
Yeah,
So,
that's correct. But
I mean,
maybe saying like you were saying to me, maybe meet your new owner. We
yeah, I mean, it would. We could hope that. I mean, all of the signs point to the fact that no, that's not what this is because you know we keep hearing over and over that there's no one lined up. But maybe they've got a surprise up their sleeves. Maybe there is an owner. Maybe they are waiting. They flew over today. They're supposed to be there until tomorrow. Um, I can't imagine why they need 2 days worth of meetings.
Yeah, I mean if you fly to the U.S., you might as well stay there for more than a day.
Yeah. I mean, just every report I've seen though makes it look like 2 days worth of meetings, and I don't know what the hell else there is to say. I mean, what's Randy Lerner going to say to Faulkner and Lambert? You both suck. I'm selling this club, and
Yeah,
here's a few million quid.
see you never. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I
Just
think this is complete speculation, but what would make sense is if they were being purchased by someone in Texas because they had the Texas tour lined up, and if all the pieces were in place for the sale, it can make sense just to do the changing of the hands, I guess, at the end of the season, just from Lerner's standpoint, wait till the TV money gets in, and then
yeah, absolutely. But in that place, I mean, if everything were ready, we would have heard that yeah, you're going to have a new owner in a few days because
yeah,
the
exactly.
second you announce that there's an owner, it's still going to take a few weeks to get that finalized.
Yeah, so I mean, I think with that, we're just gonna have to wait and see because we're really not completely sure.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I still think it's going to be an American. All
You think
signs point
why
that way.
what really makes you think that instead of
It just because that's everything we've heard is every single rumor we've heard has been American based. Um, that's where Lerner's business contacts are primarily. I mean, it just makes more sense that he's going to sell to someone that's an American, despite what that quote unquote financial analyst said for the Birmingham Mail.
yeah,
Did you
I
read
don't
that article by any chance?
yeah, that it won't be an American because no Americans have any money, so it'd have to be oil money.
Yeah, and it's just that article was, well, all of
That
the
was
Arabs are
kind of
filthy rich
racist.
from oil.
Yeah.
Just
Um
what a racist ass.
yeah, I mean there are plenty of rich people everywhere, but
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's welcome to the new economic market. Wealth is not centralized anymore.
yeah, I
Um,
think it does kind of make sense for an American just based on the new TV deals that they have in the US. The overseas TV money is now worth more than UK TV money with the new deal they signed last year, and there is a lot of money that is there to be spent with. I mean, even Cardiff, who finished bottom, made more than United made last year winning it.
yeah, and I think with all the new money that's coming in, it makes it for. I don't think you can have an owner who just wants to get rich, but if you have an owner who enjoys a puzzle, as dumb as that sounds, and an owner who enjoys a challenge, I think right now could be simultaneously the most rewarding and most challenging time in Premier League history. Because
Yeah,
with
I think
all of
so.
this
I
money,
think like generally you saw that the buying a football club is someone's kind of their play toy, and just I mean you can get a yacht, but I don't know. And now there's actually you don't have to lose $1 billion maybe to win the Champions League.
Yeah,
I mean probably to win the Champions League, but I don't know to have some success.
yeah, absolutely. You can make money in this sport um, fairly easily at this point. The question I think is going to become, does the new owner, are they handcuffed by financial fair play rules?
I don't
And
I don't think so because financial fair play, it's the money lost over 3 years, and that only goes into effect when you're going into European competition. So
yeah,
if you were to spend a lot the first 2 years, get to Europe the third year, and then if you just won the Champions League, yeah, that would probably be enough money to balance your books out.
yeah. I mean, I guess
So
the
it's going
problem
to be a
is it depends on what kind of
huge
losses
risk
are you running
reward.
in those first 2 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
if you're running a 200 million pound loss in that first year, you're going to be hard pressed to make that up.
yeah, but if you won, I think the higher finish you have in the Premier League, obviously you get more money. If you even if you spend 100 million on players, you would probably only lose about 50 million.
Yeah.
Which then, if you can run it close to even the next couple years, you should be okay.
Yeah, it makes it pretty tricky, I think. I don't think I kind of there really isn't much difference between where Villa finished and where Liverpool finished in money. Yeah, it's 20 million or so. But given the vast amounts of money that we're talking about here, 20 million isn't really all that much anymore.
Yeah, but it's 20 million more that you could take as a loss.
Yeah, that's true. That you can count in your earnings.
And plus Liverpool weren't involved in European competitions next year. They're going to make a lot of money from the Champions League.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But
Plus you got to think of just of gate receipts from being more successful and more exposure, both nationally and internationally, is going to get you a little more money.
yeah, I always do kind of wonder how much gate receipts matter because if you do 5,000 extra people spread out over, let's say with cups and whatnot, 5,000 people per 20 matches, is that a significant chunk of money? And I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I just think if really what you have with Villa is Villa Park has potential for expansion, and if they were to expand it by 5,000, that would be really to maybe 45,000, which would be about 10,000 more than they were getting on average this season. So I think 20,000, like there are 10,000 extra fans over the 20 matches plus cups, and if they were involved in European competitions, could actually be substantial.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, it's worth the investment if you've got a club that can draw those numbers and
Yeah, and
can.
you'd have to have better finishes to draw the numbers, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Um, do you think we hear about a new owner anytime this month, in the month of May?
I really hope so, but it wouldn't be a disaster if we didn't get a new owner until we have to get one, I think, before July
Hmm.
or at the beginning of July because really just look at what happened to Fulham last year. They got a new owner who was somewhat unwilling to spend and they got relegated. So I mean, they really paid the highest price. And with the article I'd written for today, I was talking about how I think the newly promoted teams will be willing to go into a bit of debt because they know the promise of all that money's coming in at the end of next year. And even if they lose 50 million this year, they get 65 next year, and they're in the Premier League again for at least another year,
Yeah.
as long
Um,
as you can just figure out a way to stay up.
yeah, I was intrigued by that article you wrote today. In there, you said that if we had a budget of 35 million, we would be set. Um, w- do you think there's any chance that Villa get a budget of 35 million over the summer?
I think there is because depending on the owner, I think you can find players in the squad that you can sell off and raise a grand total of 5 million. So that's really only 30 million from what you already didn't have to put in because if they can get rid of Darren Bent off the wage bill, if they can I don't know, if they can get rid of maybe someone like El Ahmadi, I'm not really sure what they're planning on doing Hellenius. I mean, really, when you're just trying to get to 5 million, anything helps.
Yeah.
And
If Lerner is still the owner,
if Lerner's still the owner, I would doubt it.
do
I
you
could
think
see
if
maybe
Lerner's the
25
owner, do
million.
Villa get 15?
I think they have to get at least 15.
Okay.
Like, what are you really gonna do with 15? Because we'll get to it later, but there's pressing holes in a lot of places in the squad that 15 million just isn't gonna plug.
I That's my initial gut reaction. I 100% agree with you, but when I actually stop and think about it, um, Villa are getting a new center back next season. They're getting a new striker. So you got Okora, you've got Kozak, um, you've got, yeah, for what he's worth, you've got Charles Nzogbia coming back.
Yeah, if he can play attacking midfield.
So if you think of those players as what they're actually worth, it's like Villa will be spending 15 million already.
Yeah, I guess if you can get rid of if you could get rid of Bent and his wages, then you could, as long as you're using that money back into it. If Lerner set 15 million aside plus whatever you have to sell to buy, I guess it's realistic to maybe expect 20, 25.
Yeah, I just I'm struggling to see Lerner even putting 15 million in, which as everyone has said is a terrible idea because if he hasn't sold
Yeah,
the
I think it's
club,
a death sentence.
yeah, if he hasn't sold the club, he needs to invest because he won't be able to sell the club.
Yeah, you're not going to get anywhere near what you want if they're in the championship.
yeah, it was
The huge draw is because they're still in the Premier League is that's going to be a lot of TV money.
yeah, if you really want Aston Villa, someone in our comments said this, and I thought it was a really brilliant statement. If you really want Aston Villa, and you're not really as concerned about the Premier League thing, just watch what Randy Lerner says. If he says he's not going to invest, wait a year, and you can get Aston Villa for a quarter of the price when they're in the Championship.
Yeah, and then put in the investment and try to bring it back up.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing. If say you've got 200 million to spend, right? And you say, okay, if I do that now, I can't do a huge investment in the transfer budget. If you wait a year, you spend 50 million, 100 million, and then you put the rest of that 200 into your transfer budget, they're coming back up for sure.
Yeah,
And
because maybe Lerner hasn't had the time to sell off the players that would be too expensive for the championship.
yeah, I don't know, he needs to invest something. We heard at first that there was no money, then we heard that there was some money, and now we've heard that there's very little money. And
Yeah,
we have no proof of any of those.
first was the what we heard about the transfer embargo that was self-imposed, that they weren't buying anyone because they weren't sure, which may have may have cost them the chance to sign an exciting young prospect.
Nestien, which
Yeah, I think
something.
it's Lestienne, who
Yeah,
was
Lestien.
from he had 28 goals and 30 assists in 2 years in the Belgian league, and is probably going to end up in Turkey, I guess. But
Yeah, and I mean, and like I said in the thing that I wrote about that, if Galatasaray and Fenerbahce are coming for you, and it's those two or Aston Villa, you're going to choose one of the Turkish sides.
unless there's more money at Villa,
Yeah, but the fact that Villa can't even make a decent offer is what's really frustrating about this. It doesn't bug me if Villa lose out to a Galatasaray. It
no.
bugs me that Villa can't even try.
Yeah, and that's what I think with if there's a new owner, you have to wait to see if there is a new owner because they might have more money that they're willing to spend than Lerner is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also for a new owner, maybe a new owner wants a new manager.
And that's the other question. I mean, because if a new owner wants a new manager, I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to be heartbroken if we have a new manager and someone replaces Paul Lambert. But if it happens at the first week of August, that's bad news.
Yeah.
So the sale needs to get done quickly so that the new owners can actually decide who they want as manager. Because if we get brand new owners and they replace Paul Lambert on August 1 or whatever, then they're already off to a bad start.
Yeah, because that's the Premier League starts what 2 weeks
Uh,
after that or
yeah,
so.
August 15th-ish.
Yeah, and that's not enough time to put in your new training preparations.
Yeah, or as a manager, you want to build a squad.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And getting all the transfer business sorted out takes time.
exactly. So I don't know. It needs to be resolved quickly because this is very possibly going to leave Villa well in the lurch right now. I think in some ways we're sort of lucky that this is happening during a World Cup summer.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because it's obviously the transfer market doesn't stop for the World Cup, but it's a little slower because
And
everyone's so focused on that. I
and
mean,
and kind of inflated too because I don't think Villa are going to be buying a ton of players who are at this World Cup, but other teams will be, which will just overpaying for players at the top is going to drive up the values of other players just by nature.
yeah, it's true. It's so in some ways it kind of sucks that this is happening in a World Cup summer, but in other ways I think it does buy at least a little bit of time.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely because players who will have gone to the World Cup after this after a long season, they're going to be needing more rest
yeah.
before, which luckily Villa's players aren't going for that reason. I guess it'd be maybe less of a chance for injury, better chance to be at top fitness going into the new campaign.
Yeah, unless they pull in Zogbias.
Yeah, I mean it's always possible.
Yeah,
So
I don't
yeah,
know.
actually someone who is going to the World Cup is Ron Vlaar, and it looks like him and Fabian Delph are getting offered new contracts, which is I think huge.
Yeah, hopefully that report was true and that there is enough money being set aside to give the two of them contracts. I would say they were in order of Delph Vlar, Villa's 1 and 2 players this year.
Yeah, and then maybe definitely outfielders. Guzan's got to be up there as well.
Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, I think so as well. I think Delph could maybe the next captain of the club. I think this will be Vlaar's last contract or his last contract really as a starter. I think that what's he gonna be? He's 28 right now,
is he? I thought he was a little older than that. I can tell you in a moment.
but yeah, I think Akora is gonna really become the man. Hopefully, he doesn't become too much of the man and have to get sold off. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing the Vlar Akora pairing. I think that'll be
yeah,
really nice next year, and I think it'll
Akora's
be good.
fast.
And I think it'll be good given his leadership. And I don't like intangibles like that, but it is so readily apparent on that field that Vlar is generally in charge of that
Yeah,
team.
with Vlar, just his organizational skills, I think at the back because without him, they just look lost.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, they run that offside trap so precisely when he's there, and they do nothing when he's not.
Yeah,
Um,
well, they concede a lot of goals when he's not.
they concede a fair amount when he is there, but
Yeah,
Um, but no, you're absolutely right, and I I think he's a hugely valuable member of this club. I'm not sure he's ever going to be. His contribution is really not flashy, but I think he may be, in terms of importance going forward, he might actually be more important than Delph to me.
possibly. I would say Delph just because he's younger, and
And the fact that he can sort of be the basis of this club for a while.
yeah, something to build on for just a longer period of time. But yeah, maybe definitely last year, the 2012 to 13 year, I think, because I think Delph finally figured it out this season and can be great next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so eager to see what he can do next year.
Someone
Um,
who hasn't been offered a new contract who's Delphin Vlar, they're not expiring this summer, but Mark Albrighton's is expiring, and they need to get on the ball with that.
Is he worth re-signing? That's what I keep getting asked by a lot of people.
Yeah, because if you don't re-sign him, he's going to end up at Sunderland and become really good. Just because that's just what would happen.
So, or at Everton and
Yeah,
become a
yeah,
world
or
class.
Everton would be worse, even probably.
Yeah, he just becomes a world class winger. the likes of which we've never seen before.
Yeah,
Um,
just tears up Euro 2016 or something. Okay.
um, it I definitely think is worth keeping. I keep getting a lot of pushback on Twitter and in the comments on stuff that, if he's so good, why hasn't he been starting every year? And I would say it's because the managers have been idiots and not played him.
Yeah, do you watch him play? Like,
He's one of Villa's top 5 players right now, and like I think I've made clear plenty of times before, that doesn't mean he's an outstanding player. But he's not going to be that expensive, and the cost of re-signing him should be minimal. Why lose a key part of your team if you don't have to?
yeah, because we don't have any right wingers really besides him. Like,
No,
Andy's been stuck out there. Maybe Bakuna could get the job done out there, but
and it's not like teams are sniffing after Yakuba Silla or something. This is, a
no.
player who actually has some impact. Plus, I'm really excited at the prospect of seeing him out on the right wing and Grealish on the left.
Exactly, because then you could actually probably play a 4-4-2.
Yeah, Villa with some width to them, which width that isn't just in the back 5.
Yeah. Um, actually attacking with and
Yeah.
crossing
Uh,
into strikers like Benteke Kozak because that could be deadly.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, and for the first half of the season or the first however long, Kozak Vyman with
Yeah,
service
exactly.
provided by a Grealish type and an Albrighton type, that could be incredible.
Yeah,
It could
people
be
who can
terrible.
actually accurately cross the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it
Well,
could be terrible, but there's,
yeah, but it's worth a shot. And at
yeah.
least in the cups, you could play that and just demolish lower league teams.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think just the drawback of the 4-4-2 is really again playing against sides that are more talented than you. They could pick you apart defensively, but
Yeah,
if you're
it
if you get caught up field, I mean,
it it strikes me as if Albrighton is someone that the club need to keep around because he's cheap, he's good public relations. He obviously adores being at Aston Villa,
yeah.
and most of the fans feel likewise. So why take a giant dump on your fans when that's what you're already doing?
Well, that's what they've been doing for a while now. It's just another day at the office, I guess. But
Yeah, yeah, hey, they made one good decision this week. They canceled that awards dinner.
yeah,
Also, really amusingly, after I said that I thought that was a good decision, I saw a lot of people on Twitter bitching about the fact that there was no awards dinner.
it doesn't mean there weren't any awards.
Yeah, I know, but
No,
because
they did. I don't think they deserve the banquet.
I think part of it is the banquet is for the fans and the sponsors too, because fans can go, sponsors can go.
Yeah,
But I'm pretty sure we would have seen way more people bitching about why are these people getting a banquet.
exactly. And after this after this season, I think it's okay, especially with the ownership influx and what not's going on there. So, what
It turned out
Delph
Randy
got
Bird
Player
was
of the
only going to
Year?
pay for cocktail shrimp, not full size shrimp, and everyone
Yeah,
just said fuck it.
yeah. We don't even want to go. So, so what? Delph was Player of the Year, and Bakuna was Young Player of the Year.
Yeah, weirdly, both of them got both the fan and team versions of their awards.
Remember when Stephen Ireland was the Player of the Year?
Steve, wasn't he the player of the year at Man City?
Oh yeah, and he was the fans Player of the Year here.
Yeah. No, remember when Stephen Ireland was the player of the year at Manchester City?
Yeah, and then for some reason Villa wanted him instead of a bunch of money for Milner.
God. As someone else pointed out, therein lies the other worry that we have. If something happens to Lambert here, signing players without a manager leads to things like Stephen Ireland.
Yeah, signing players without a manager is bad unless they're just exceptionally talented players.
I mean, if Real come and say, "Hey, we've got Gareth Bale, we'll give him to you for 15," sure, say yes.
Yeah,
But
15. Like we wouldn't. I think everyone's combined wages at Villa is less than Bale's wages probably at Real.
that could be. I wonder. I would be
Maybe
interested in
everyone who
seeing.
was in the starting 11 on against Spurs.
I would be interested in seeing the comparison of the transfer fees that it took to get Villa's entire squad as
Oh,
compared to Gareth Bale.
that's definitely going to be less. I
Yeah.
think.
How
Um,
many squads could you buy in the Premier League for one Gareth Bale?
well, you could have bought Norwich's squad twice over for Fernando Torres.
No,
When
no.
they're starting 11 when they played Chelsea a couple weeks ago, but
It just, oh, God.
yeah, Torres is quite useless though. Billy's Bale's good. You want to talk transfer targets
Yeah,
briefly?
I mean, a little bit. We had on Twitter, we had uh, Claire Villains ask us if the takeover doesn't happen, with a limited budget, can we get in the right players to avoid another struggle? What do you think?
How limited of budget are you thinking? Like 15 million?
She doesn't say, so let's do this twice. First one, Villa are given 7 million.
Well, you better buy a clone of Benteke, otherwise we're in trouble.
Okay, but let's pretend that that's all they get.
Yeah,
Because it strikes me as if that's not an unreasonable number given what we've heard. If you've only got 7 million, how do you spread it out with this club?
I think you've got to buy a midfielder, I think. I know that we're probably not going to get Ryan Bertrand and we need a left back, but I think Joe Bennett's not the worst thing in the world, and I'd rather spend the money at defensive midfield.
All right,
I
so
think I
someone,
think what you have to do is try to get a loan signing.
yeah, if
Loan
if you're
signing is
given a
good.
limited budget, you've definitely got to look at loans. That's a good point.
Especially look at loans from other leagues like Spain, s- probably Spain because if you can only get one loan signing from another Premier League team. So I think you have to wait on that and then maybe use it in January if need be, like Bertrand.
I'm looking forward to Villa getting loan signings from League One.
Yeah.
You want to give your players some low pressure experience? Send them up to Villa.
Ouch.
Um,
Ouch.
uh, no, I. So you want a defensive midfielder? You're not happy with Ashley Westwood in that role?
No, I'm more happy with Ashley Westwood not having too many defensive responsibilities. I want like a tackler, like an anchorman that can just lay it off to Westwood and allow Westwood to play the ball.
So you would be okay with, say, maybe replacing KEA with Westwood? So you know how Villa sort of had that.
Yeah, move Westwood just up a bit in that kind of triangle.
Yeah, Villa had that little triangle there. So move Westwood to where KEA was, and bring in a defensive mid replacement for Westwood then.
Yeah. And then
Uh,
I guess if you're gonna keep KEA is a great player to have coming off the bench.
yeah, I think so too. What type of a player are you thinking of? I mean, obviously we can't get him, but are you thinking of like a Gerard type central mid, or do you want
No,
more
more
of
like
a
Alex
holding?
Song.
Hmm?
More like Alex Song. Like Jared doesn't play defense.
No, I know. That's why I'm saying, do you want like a central
Yeah.
or a holding mid?
Yeah, more of a holding.
All right. So if you've only got 7 million, your first priority is a defensive mid. What's priority number two?
Uh, yeah, maybe left back actually then because unless you can somehow convert Bakuna or Lowton, I said Joe Bennett wasn't the worst option, but he's far from the best option. And
He's he's
it's
not the
weird.
worst
I
option
wish you could
because
just merge like Bennett and Luna and get their like combined talents because then they might actually be decent.
so you would use the 7 million for a science experiment.
Yeah, and if it if it blows up, whatever. But um,
What are we doing
otherwise,
today, Pinky? The
uh,
same thing we do every day, Paul
yeah,
Lambert.
yeah, seriously.
Um,
Um,
okay, so you've got
maybe
7
I don't
million.
know a young attacking midfielder that maybe you can get from the championship, or I actually probably don't buy anyone that's English because that'd just be a waste of money within itself.
Here's my other question then. If you've got 7 million, do you try to get a few players or do you blow it on one big player and cross your fingers and hope to God? I mean, and
You hope to
big
God
in
they don't get
quotation.
injured because that's the risk of it. I'd rather buy two players that are 3.5
Yeah.
rather than the one that's 7, but still because when you're I don't know, you could probably get 3 for that amount, but any more than that, it's pushing it.
Yeah, then you're getting guys that you picked up at the pub.
Yeah, or the League One leftovers or something. I don't know.
All right, so let's pretend that by limited budget, let's say a sale doesn't happen, Lerner comes to his senses, he says, I have to give him something, so he gives him just about what Lambert has had in about the past 2 years, so let's say 20 million. I think that's unlikely to happen if Lerner sticks around, but play with the idea for a second. If Lambert has 20 million, do your priorities remain the same?
Yeah, I think so, and I think Lambert actually, with that much money, or maybe even with a little more, I think Lambert could really actually do some positive damages. Like I'm sure he's got a couple people that he's thought about this season maybe lined up.
Yeah.
And
If you've got 20 million, how do you split it up?
if you've got 20 million, you could actually still maybe try to get Ryan Bertrand. I guess maybe the fans aren't as high on him as they were a couple weeks ago. He made some defensive errors against Man City and then kind of said some things that maybe I don't even want to be at Villa anymore. But
Yeah, I don't think Bertrand wants to come here. If you had the money,
I think
and
he was just happy he was starting, and then now he's like, yeah, well,
yeah, oh yeah, I'm starting for
I
Villa.
could probably start at Newcastle.
Um, if you're gonna spend that kind of money for Bertrand, what about Aaron Cresswell from Ipswich
Yeah,
Town?
I he had 13 assists last year.
Yeah, 13 assists, 2 goals. Was named the PFA Team of the Year in the championship.
Yeah, I think spending the same amount that you'd spend on Bertrand, which would be what 5 or 6 million,
Hmm.
maybe a little more about that. Close to a third if your budget was 20 million, about a third of your budget. I think that's okay because that's a big signing and he could really make a splash.
Yeah, I absolutely think so.
And that would get the fans excited, I think too. I think that's one of the most important things you have. That's why you need the transfer market is to get the fans actually excited for the season and say, hey, maybe we're going to do something.
What if you've said that you think the two biggest needs are defensive mid and left back? If you get 20 million, what if you spend 10 on each? Are you happy?
I don't think you need to spend 10 at each. I think six at each, and then you could maybe spend eight then at attacking midfield. I think if we loan out Jack Grealish, we need to bring in a left-sided midfielder or a left winger because I mean we have Gabby, but I think he should be used more as a striker, and it's tough when you have that many strikers. But if you're getting rid of Hellenius and if you're going to play Gabby centrally, you don't need to bring in another striker this summer.
All right.
I
Let's.
think I think a loan suits Hellenius actually because he needs to play every day or every week, and obviously he's not getting that at Villa, but he's huge, and I think in the future maybe he could be someone that Villa could use in if Benteke moves on after this year.
Just throw him into the center of the box and tell him not to move. You are going to be the inanimate object off of
Yeah, the
which we
ball's gonna
bounce.
hit your head and it's going to go into the goal.
You are a pinball post, and that is your
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
Um, so let's do the scenario, the worst case scenario. Lerner sticks around. He gives Lambert nothing to work
Literally
with,
nothing.
except to maybe renew contracts. Let's assume that Lambert can
Yeah.
keep the squad he has now. Other than that, he's not going to be able to bring in new players. Can he make it work?
Hmm. Maybe he's gonna. I think Grealish will have to just have an incredible season, or
Hmm.
someone randomly will have to have an incredible season.
Do you think that the replacement of Baker Clark with Akora will help a lot?
I think maybe we see them concede a total of like maybe 6 or 7 goals fewer,
Hmm.
but and I'm not sure what would that be like a goal against Man City would be off the book, so it would have only been 3-0. That's not getting you any more points.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm
it's
really
it's
high
hard
on
to
Akora.
tell.
I think a lot of this season's troubles, as much as the defense was improved, I think a lot of our trouble came in games where, you know, some of those young defenders had meltdowns.
Oh, yeah, like just forgetting to mark someone in the box or I don't really think own goals are the such a huge problem. They're just
And
gonna happen from
and,
time to
and we
time.
really didn't have many own goals. What did we have, like five this year?
Yeah, I
If
mean,
that.
I think five's a lot. I think maybe we had 3 or 4.
I can think of the Delph. I can think of
Sorry.
Bowery,
Baker.
Baker.
The worst one was Baker last year against Reading, or Stephen Warnock a couple years ago. That was a really terrible own goal.
No,
And
yeah,
that just makes you think, how did this guy ever play for Villa, much less England at the 2010 World Cup?
right. Um,
What?
I think Villa
What?
could do it if they brought no one in. It would be not a good year.
I
We would
think
be
you need the Great Escape. Like that. Oh man, I think the pressure's on from day one if you don't bring anyone in, and that's not fair to the manager.
or the club. No, I entirely agree, but I can't. As much as I don't want to make excuses for Lambert, because part of it was, he made the bed and he had to lay in it. It's hard to envision Villa having quite the injury problems again next year that they did this year.
Yeah, but you just don't know.
I know you don't, but I mean, statistically, it has to average out. This was an outlier. Have you seen the
Oh yeah,
website
I agree.
injurytable.com
Yeah.
or injuryleague.com? Not injurytable.com. I was going to write something about this once they posted their final thing.
Yeah, we were up there, I think, with the most injuries in the league at the end.
Yeah, so the way they calculate this is every time a player is listed on the injury report and misses the week, it counts for a point. That makes pretty good sense. So if
Okay.
Benteke misses one match, it's 1 point. If Benteke and Kozak were out, that's 2 points, etc.
Hmm.
The bottom of the injury league table was Cardiff with 86 missed matches. Average middle of the, or I should say, sort of median in the table was right around 156, 157. Villa had 212 missed matches.
Who was top? Arsenal or Spurs? I feel like they had
Arsenal
a
with
lot.
289.
Arsenal, oh, they just have players that just get injured.
Yeah. Now Arsenal is a clear outlier, but it seems to me as if Villa were absolutely an outlier here. I You never want to say this because the injury gods can curse you, but it's hard to imagine them having the same injury problems next year that they did this year. And if that's the case, I think this squad, if Lampard gets his actual starting 11, is not the squad that we saw for most of the year.
No, and I think if looking at like Baker and Clark, if they have to come in off the bench or every other match or so, that's not horrible
No,
because they're still
absolutely.
gonna develop. I'm sure they learned a lot this year, but Okoro is gonna be huge, and like I think if you could get Baker or Clark to figure out how to play left back, that couldn't even be terrible if you're using an attacking 4-4-2 because that winger would have maybe slightly less defensive responsibilities if you're just going to have a center back there that's just kind of going to sit.
How many teams in the Premier League play one striker?
Most?
Most?
I don't know.
Three at the back?
No one plays three at the back.
No, I'm saying, could Villa make that
Oh.
work?
Oh, could they play three at the back? Maybe, but who are you going to play at left wing back then?
Maybe put Bennett in there when he's
Yeah,
less of a
Bennett could
liability.
be there. If you had three at the back with either one of Clark or Baker,
I mean, I don't like the concept of Villa becoming a three whatever team, a three at the back team. But if nothing happens over the summer, it could be an adjustment they could make that would, you know, be a bandage for another year.
yeah, exactly. And if they can figure out because I think teams aren't always used to facing that. So if you're able to use it at the right time, like Lambert tried to use it against City, and City had been using two strikers before, so it looked like the right option going into it. But they came out with one, and I mean they weren't going to beat City anyways.
Yeah, it, you know.
But
So I don't know, maybe a three at the back. I honestly think that if nothing happens and the squad just remains the same, that Villa still could survive. I don't like the odds. And I think there's a pretty good chance they do get relegated, but I think with fewer injuries next year with the same squad, we would see a better result.
yeah, I just think you need impacts to come from a couple players that you don't expect it to come from, and then I mean, you never know that squad gets another year of experience.
Yeah. And how do the promoted teams do next year? I mean, Crystal Palace played out of their minds this year.
The second half of the season with
Yeah,
13
exactly.
points at Christmas, and then they're like, "Oh, we get Villa on Boxing Day. Time to start surviving." Like,
Yeah, it's
but Yeah, well, it's gonna be what, Leicester City and then Burnley and then either QPR or Brighton.
Yeah.
I think two of them probably go back down because of all the money that Premier League teams got this year, like Hull, I think they're gonna spend it. They're probably gonna spend 30,
Hmm.
and I don't know. QPR will spend if they make it back up. I don't know. I hope QPR don't, but if they do, I hope they go straight back down.
Yeah. Um, God, I really dislike QPR.
Yeah, it's hard to know what they're gonna do.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I would be happier if QPR made it than Wigan, but you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, QPR
that's
beat Wigan,
yeah,
so
I know. So I guess I'm
yeah,
happier with
Wigan,
it.
Wigan they get like 100 away fans. They're not cut out for the Premier League.
I heard someone calling Derby the Curly Cows or something like that, just because their logo,
The Ram with
just the
or
line.
no, Derby beat Brighton.
Yep, Derby beat
All
Brighton.
right, so it'll be Derby or QPR.
Yeah, I hope it's Derby. Also, just because I like novelty and I haven't really seen much of them. Although, didn't Villa play them in a cup match a couple years ago?
Maybe. I no idea.
I I know we've played them sometime
Yeah, I think
recently.
I think with Villa next year they're not going to get zero to spend in the market. I think that's unrealistic to expect. But like you were saying, I don't think they'll get a ton. I think a good thing to do for them next year would be to go on a deep run in the cup and not lose to a League Two side when you're 180 minutes from Wembley.
Oh yeah. Um,
Even if it's a Mickey Mouse Cup, whatever. I mean, everyone would prefer the FA Cup, but
I mean, it doesn't seem to put much of a damper on Hull.
no, and yeah, well, Huller in the FA. You mean,
Oh yeah, God damn it. I'm sorry. I was thinking
well,
Sunderland.
yeah, no, it would have. I mean, it would have been fine for Sunderland, but
You ask most Sunderland fans, and I think they'll say that League Cup final was the highlight of their season, even though they lost.
yeah, and then they escaping relegation too was huge because I feel like they were just really excited about that because they're like, well, we're probably gonna go down, so let's just enjoy it.
That's true. And so they just got to, they had that one little thing, and then they didn't go down.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that'd be great for a lot of Villa fans to say, as long as we could finish maybe like 13th or something, and just somewhere where you're not worried about relegation for the season.
Hmm. Yeah,
Go
I
have
agree.
fun in the cup, I guess. I don't know.
So, I that's the long-winded answer to Claire's question. Can they get the right players to avoid another struggle? They can. It's going to be tough if
Yeah,
Lerner doesn't
they
sell
can,
quickly.
but will they? I mean, it's cliche. Like only time will tell, I guess. We don't know who the owner is going to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah, who knows? And that's the other thing, if Villa get in the right owner, this could be good, but there's no guarantee that they get in the right owner. Maybe
Yeah,
they
and
get
if the
in
right
Vincent
owner,
Tan.
maybe if that guy decides, if an owner comes in late and he decides, well, I'm going to keep Lambert for a year, see out his contract, I don't have to spend any money there to fire him. That's good, I think. I'm completely fine with sticking with Lambert for another year, especially if he does have a little bit of money to spend.
Yeah, exactly. If the option is bring in a new manager or keep Lambert and use the 2 million or 3 million that you'd have put towards compensation for a new player, I'll take Lambert and the player.
Yeah, undoubtedly, because then you just let him. I mean, you give him a chance again to prove to the new owner what he can do, and if the new owner gives him money and he does well,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. I see no reason not to. I don't know. At this point, I'm just all for anything that gives the club stability. I know fans are so sick and tired of Lambert, but eh, we don't have an
I'm
owner
more
right.
sick and tired of having two managers a year.
Yeah, agreed. I would rather at this moment just have because I've written about this before that there's two components here. There's the owner, there's the manager. Having both of those up in the air is terrible. Having one of them up in the air sucks.
Yeah, it's bad enough when one of them's. I think if a new owner comes in, sticks with Lambert, it comes to December, everything's gone to hell. You fire him in December, get a new guy in, give him a bunch of money in the January window, and say, okay,
Fire him and bring in Felix Magath.
yeah, or DeCanio, I don't know.
Tony Pulis.
Yeah, yeah, Pulis, like, okay. Pulis
God.
would break his record of never being relegated with Villa, though.
Oh God. Yeah. So that's Villa right now.
Yeah, I
Woo.
mean, I guess that's really all we have for the week. I think we'll be back next week if there is some more news along the lines of the sale of the club. If not, I think we'll talk about who we want for our top transfer targets. Maybe bring another one of our authors in.
Yeah, we're looking at hopefully bringing in some of our new authors. If you aren't reading the site regularly, make sure to go over there and welcome. We've got Liz Owen writing about the Aston Villa ladies who played Birmingham City this week.
Yeah, unfortunately they lost, but
They played well after the first 15. Gave up 2 in the first 15, and then only
yeah,
lost
just
2
like just
nothing.
like the Villa men's.
Well, yeah, except with the Villa men, it would have been 5-0 at the end of that match.
Yeah, fair enough.
So we've got Lizzo and we've got Alex Carson coming in, and we've got Tom Jones coming in. Tom is actually, Liz and Tom are both England based, so we've actually got some representation from England finally.
Yeah, weird,
So,
but
so yeah, make sure to welcome them if you see them over there. We're really glad to have them aboard.
yeah. So yeah, as Robert said, give them a warm welcome, and as always, thanks for joining us on the Holtecast. For Robert, I'm Jack, and we'll see you next week.